All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is July 26th. We got ourselves a Wednesday full of MLB games. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every game on today's slate. I'm going to give you my lean or leans as we talk about each and every game. But as always, my final plays, those will be in the pinned comments. So I'm actually rolling with myself. Another mediocre to bad day yesterday. We go 1 and 2. Rays and Marlins, they don't cash the over. They had 4 runs through like 2 or 3 innings, and I was like, okay, we're on pace here. No, that's what they ended up with, like 5 runs total in the game. Nolan Arenado, 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. I don't even know if he got a single hit, run, or RBI. The only cash of the day was the Dodgers and Blue Jays over 9. At least it was a plus 100 play, but nonetheless, guys, we've 3 out of the last 4 days prior to last night were 2 and 2 nights, right? We had a 4 and 2 night mixed in, which, yay, we had a positive night. And then we followed up with a 1 and 2 night last night. Like, we are in the absolute dumps right now. Still positive on the season, obviously, but you hate going through these stretches. But we're trying to persevere. This is the time in which, you know, if you consider yourselves a sports bettor, someone that really enjoys doing this, right? This is the time in which you have to say, okay, stick to the system. Don't just change up your process. It's going to turn around. So it's been, 4 days of toughness. So let's see if we're tougher than these 4 days. So we shall see, guys. But go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Our ride of the day also does not cash, coming in from Fast Car Eddie here. Blake Snell, 10 plus strikeouts. I even said in the comments, I was like, wow, we got great odds on this. I'll even give you credit if we just hit his regular strikeout line. He doesn't even come close to his regular strikeout line. So big womp womp. And in Fast Car Eddie's defense, a lot of people in the comments were on Snell's strikeouts as well. So yeah, another ride of the day that does not come through. We need a win today, guys. Go ahead and use hashtag ride of the day in the comments and give me an absolute lock. I'm in the dumps right now. We got a couple ride of days in a row that are just not hitting in the dumps as well. So let's go ahead and cash something. Drop a banger in the comments. Use hashtag ride of the day, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick, and you guys get a shout out in the comments, win or loss. So go ahead and do that. Let's jump into game number 1 here. We're looking at Washington taking on Colorado, and that's a terrible game to open up the slate today. Don't really love much over here. We have Irvin on the mound for Washington, and then we have Lambert on the mound for Colorado. The only thing that I would consider betting in this game is going to be the over, just because we've seen 2 games in the series thus far, 10-6, and then 6-5. They've split it in terms of who's won, but I just don't think either team has the pitching strength, I guess you could say, as of right now. So give me the over in this game, 9.5. I don't think that's going to become a final play, but keep an eye on the pinned comment. You never know, right? All right, Rays taking on the Marlins here. Rays get the win yesterday, 4-1. Like I said, we needed 7.5 or over 7.5. They finished with 5 runs there total, so we ended up losing that one. But today it could be a little bit different. You do have the Rays with somewhat of a palatable odds here on the money line, -150. And I do think the Rays are going to be using this series to kind of turn things around, because Miami, as we know, has lost 9 of their last 10, and I think they've lost 10 of their last 12 as well. So they're really not playing all that well. That win came by way of beating Colorado. Like, congratulations to you. But Tampa Bay gets the win yesterday. They have Eflin on the mound today, which I don't hate at all. 11-5 record with a 3.37 ERA and a .99 WHIP. And then in his last 5 games, that ERA has dropped down to 2.2 as well. So he's pitching well. And again, Tampa Bay's problem, I wouldn't say has been necessarily their pitching, right? Their problem has been their hitting not scoring, or their offense not scoring a lot of runs. They've had plenty of pitching problems as well, even some injuries and whatnot. But no, their problem has been they're not having those 8-run games and whatnot that we knew that they could have, and we know they can have, right? On the mound for Miami is going to be Sandy Alcantara, who on the season his stats don't look great. He is pitching a little bit better as of late, but nonetheless, I do lean towards Tampa Bay here. If we can get these in the -150s, I'd even maybe consider them on the money line in the early -160s, maybe maybe minus 165 max. I know it's a ton of juice, but I do think that, you know, had it not been for Tampa Bay being bad for a while, and had it not been for Sandy Alcantara getting the start today, we'd be looking at odds that are like minus 250. So there is some value there, at least in my brain. And then we're looking at a total of 7.5. I got burned yesterday on this one. I still do like the over, but I don't think we can pull the trigger on that just based on what we saw yesterday. I was very confident in these two teams being able to score at least 8 runs. Tampa Bay kind of did their job, 4 runs, but it felt like they scored a bunch, right? And they still only ended up with 4 runs. Marlins only end up with 1 run. I just can't really trust that these two teams are going to put up some numbers on the scoreboard after last night. So I'm probably going to lean towards the over, but stick away from it. So it's over or pass. Most likely a pass here for me. But I do like Tampa Bay on the money line again today. All right, next up, we got Minnesota taking on Seattle, and man, I'm right. This is going to be a great series, or has been a great series so far. Seattle comes back, gets the win yesterday. They win that one 9-7 in a comeback fashion. They split these 2 games so far, and like I said, I just like when these two teams play each other. When they played earlier, you know, a couple series ago, they split that 4-game series as well. So this is the series wrap-up here. We have Joe Ryan on the mound for Minnesota. He's got a 9-6 record on the year with a 3.88 ERA and a 1.05 whip. 3-2 in his last, or the team is 3-2 in his last 5 starts here, and he's got a 4 flat ERA, so not pitching that great as of late. On the mound for Seattle is going to be Bryce Miller. 3-2 record in his last 5 years. He got a 6-3 record on the season. 3.5 ERA with a .97 sub-1 whip. I think a lot of people are going to be on Seattle today in terms of what they're looking at and what they like, but I'm actually going to flip it and look at 1, the line here, and 2, kind of that public sort of fade. So I do think that, you know, based on the fact that Seattle won yesterday, and they technically have a pitcher that's been trending in a better direction than Ryan pitching for them today, I think the public's going to be all over Seattle plus 118 on FanDuel. So I'm going to kind of take a step back and say, okay, I'm fading the public, looking at this Minnesota team at home with a good pitcher on the mound, even if he hasn't been trending in the best direction. And Vegas goes ahead and lets and starts the line out at Minnesota minus 138. You know what I mean? So we're seeing them favored, in which there could be a case made for why Seattle could be favored in this game. So I'm going to take what I see in front of me, and I am going to lean towards Minnesota in this one for minus 138 over on FanDuel. I'm going to trust Ryan in this spot. Last time he pitched against Seattle, you know, I want to say it was last season. I don't think he's pitched this year, but he's had a couple decent starts against them. For what it's worth, nothing to like write home about, but it hasn't been that much of a blow up. Bryce Miller, on the other hand, did go out there and, you know, has shoved last time, not against Minnesota, but last time he pitched, but it was against Detroit. So you're looking at a pitcher trend that, like, yeah, he's pitching really, really well, but it was against Detroit. This Minnesota team is not Detroit. This Minnesota team's batting righties fairly well. 5 runs per game, 5 runs per 9, just over 240, averaging just under 7 hits per game, with an on-base percentage of, you know, 350. Like, I do think that this is a spot where everyone's going to look at the numbers, or everyone's going to look at what's in front of them, right, the low-hanging fruit, and say, give me Seattle. We're kind of going a layer deeper, and I'm looking at Minnesota. Then we have a total of 8 runs here. I guess I'm going to throw in a little safety net if Minnesota doesn't get the win here or anything. I do like the over. If Seattle does get to you know, Joe Ryan and Minnesota, I do think that then over is a good play here. We saw game number 1 here at 4-3, so just barely missing that total, right? And then yesterday's game 9-7. Now it did take Seattle coming from behind and winning that one, but nonetheless, give me the over. I think 3 of the 4 previous to this series, those games hit the over as well. So I do think that these are two teams that look to score a decent amount of runs against each other rather than having these pitching duels. All right, guys, before we get to the rest of the slate, I did want to let you guys know that we are still running the 20% off over on the Fade Me store, guys. We have a ton of new products, and we're releasing some football products now as well, which is very, very exciting. This is something that I'm so excited about, to continue to grow this brand and really sink my teeth into it. And you might be thinking, why would I wear a shirt that says Fade Me? Isn't that like a bad thing? Well, that's kind of where it started. So this is a true, like, if you know type brand. Fade Me started because when I started doing sports betting and really sinking my teeth into it online and all that, you know, whether it was my friends, my family, or commenters being like, those picks stink, I would be like, okay, fade me, and it became sort of a thing. And now we have a lot of cool designs over on the store. This is such a great way to support the channel as well if you do want to do that. And we're doing a cool promo today. This 20% off site-wide is going to run probably for the rest of the week. But what I'm doing today is that I'm going to look at all the orders that come in today, and then I'll be reaching out because your emails are on the orders. I'm going to be refunding one order today at random. So if you want to place your order, you have a strong chance of having it just completely free if you do check it out. So head over, use the link in the description or the pinned comment, and you can head over there and get 20% off with code 20FADE right at checkout, just 20% off. And then I'm also going to be looking at all the emails today, and I'll be reaching out to one person's order saying thank you, but no thanks. Your money's no good here. You still get the products, but I'm refunding your money. So head over there, guys. A great way to support the channel. I'm having a blast working on designs and releasing products and everything like that. A lot coming down the pipe as well. So check it out, guys. FadeMe.store. That link's in the pinned comment. Go check it out if you do want to truly support what we got going on here. Let's get the train going back on the tracks here. Next game. All right, next we got Cleveland taking on Kansas City. They've split the two games so far in this series. This is the last one of 3. Cleveland wins yesterday, though, 5-1, which is more or less what we'd like to see. And I told you guys Savale was going to pitch well yesterday. I wish we considered some sort of player props. He goes 8 innings there, obviously gets the win as well. It is against Kansas City, so I'm not trying to give too much props, but Aaron Savale is a name to watch. I think he's getting better and better as this season progresses here. But today, Cleveland, massive favorites at home. And on the mound for them is going to be Gavin Williams here, who on the season has a 1-2 record, a 3.74 ERA and a 1.31 ERA. Marsh on the mound for Kansas City, who's got a 6.2 ERA, an 0-4 record, and a 1.43 whip here. So, you know, I'm sitting here being like, oh, wow, maybe it's time that there's some value in Kansas City. Yeah, I can crack myself up too. I literally was like, Gavin Williams on the mound. Okay, you know, he's not all that great. He's pitched well, not deep into games, but pitched well his last few. Maybe there is some value in Kansas City because he's not all that great. And then you look at Alex Marsh, and it's like, there's no pitcher discrepancy here. Cleveland still has the far better pitcher for sure. The only thing that I would consider in this game is taking a peek at the over 8 runs, because I do think both of these pitchers can have little blow up spots here. So not that we've seen Williams necessarily do that this year. We've certainly seen Marsh do that, but nonetheless, guys, over 8's going to be my only lean in this one. Do I even pull the trigger on that? I have no idea. When Kansas City is involved in games, I do think that you have a tough spot here in terms of like their performance. And now that I'm even looking at it, I was looking at yesterday's opening line there, so it's 10.5. I'm sticking off of this game. I thought it was 8. I had my notes wrong. Blech. This game makes me want to puke. So, you know, let's just get through today. This series will be over. You guys know how I feel about when Kansas City is involved in the series. Don't really love exactly, what they have to bring to the table, which is pretty much nothing. Kansas City is the team that shows up to like the potluck with the bag of Lay's chips that they bought instead of, they put time and effort into something. So that's what I think of them. And yeah, so I guess we're sticking away from it now when I look at the updated total. All right, Milwaukee taking on Cincinnati. The monkey is off. Cincinnati's back. They win yesterday 4-3. Still kept it under. I'm telling you guys, these two teams do not score runs against each other. I'm a little bit more weary about that now because they've kind of broken the trend of Milwaukee winning a low-scoring game against Cincinnati. But nonetheless, you have Freddie Peralta on the mound for Milwaukee. 6-8 record with a 4.72 ERA and a 1.2 whip. In his last 5, he hasn't been pitching all that great. Last start in particular was a bad start from 5 innings pitched, 6 earned runs. I will say it was against Atlanta, so take with that what you will, because Atlanta's obviously a powerhouse team. And on the mound for Cincinnati here we have, I always almost say Blake Lively, Ben Lively, 4-5 record with a 3.88 ERA and a 1.21 whip, and he's kept the ERA in his last 5 starts below 1.8 or at 1.8, below 2. So he doesn't go deep into games either, but in this game I am going to take a peek at Cincinnati, the underdog, plus 128. Again, they got the monkey off their back last night. I don't think that I'm going to consider Milwaukee here. I know the graphic is minus 130. That line has moved all the way to minus 152 right now on FanDuel. So way too much juice to be considering, if you're in my brain for Milwaukee, especially with a Cincinnati team that all they needed was that win to get, like I said, the monkey off their back against Milwaukee here, because they've still won in their last 7 games. They've won 6 of their last 7. Like, the Cincinnati Cincinnati team's playing good baseball. They're getting red hot again. It's just the Brewers were their kryptonite. And then they win yesterday, so I love this spot here. I'm also going to consider the under 8.5 just because that's the trend that they've been going. But like I said, I'm a little bit more weary about that now that the trend of, recent events have been broken. So give me Cincinnati. That's got a strong chance of being a final play, guys, for plus 128. All right, next up, we got Arizona taking on St. Louis. It's not in the graphic because we screenshotted this earlier, but we do have odds here. Arizona coming in at minus 158 over on FanDuel in terms of a money line, and then the total sitting at 8.5. Gallen is going for the Cardinals today as he takes on Jack Flaherty. I do think that Jack Flaherty has been pitching well, not necessarily his last start, but prior to that, the team is at least 4-1 in his last 5, and he's got a 2.6 ERA. But Gallen, though he's not getting much run support, he is pitching well too. 2.2 ERA in his last 5 starts here. I'm going to trust the better pitcher. I'm going to lean towards the Diamondbacks here. Can I swallow that minus 158? I don't know. That's a pretty big price tag there, but I do trust that he is by far the better pitcher. What I do like in this game is going to be the over. Now, we saw a 10-6 game in game 1. Hopefully, we kind of get back to that because yesterday's game finished at 3-1. But we're looking at two teams that can bat the right-handed side of the ball, right-handed pitchers, I should say, fairly well. 255 for the Diamondbacks, 254 on the season in terms of average for the Cardinals here. And in their last 5 games, the Diamondbacks hitting righties really, really well, averaging over 5 runs per 9 there. So give me the over here again. We're looking at a total of 8.5. So, get to that 9-run mark. But yeah, Cardinals actually have a strong chance of being a final play because even though that is, a very, very high price tag, I do think that Zach Gallen moves the needle. All right, guys, if you're struggling to find plays every single day or you're watching YouTube picks and just following them blindly, it's time to start betting on sports smarter, guys. Do your own research. It's always great to watch content. I'm not trying to drive down my views, right? But I'm always encouraging people to do their own research and find their own analytical system, right? Which is why I put out the model series for you guys and try and, let us all win together. There's no secret recipe. You got to build your own recipe. The way you can do that is by heading over to Outlier, guys. Outlier, my favorite sports betting research tool. I have a link in the description and the pinned comment. 7-day free trial. Every single player prop that is offered on the 4 main sports books here, in fact, I can throw these in right now, is on Outlier, guys, and you can check it out and see all of the trends. If these are too, juicy for you, minus 1,400, I'd never consider that, right? Okay, well, let's throw it down to minus 150, something a little bit more digestible there. Okay, Chad Wallach here, under 0.5 bases, plus money on these sports books. We can click in and actually dissect this a little bit more. So he has barely hit this, he hasn't hit it a single time in his last 10 games here. He's hit it in 75% of his last 20. We can go over here. Okay, where's Wallach? Right here. I keep wanting to say Waldachuk. Batting 194 on the season, but when he goes against right-handed pitchers, bats 164. So this could be a pretty good plus money play. Say we do like that, right? What do we want to put this on? All right, let's go ahead and add it to DraftKings. Best odds, right? You get a QR code and you get a button here. You could scan it on your phone and pull it up on your phone right away, or you could literally just continue in the browser and you're going to be able to look at this and say, okay, wow, that is super simple. I don't even have to go and dig and find this pick. It puts it right in your bet slip. So go ahead and check out Outlier today, guys. I wouldn't steer you in the wrong direction. I promise you that. It is an amazing app if you want to start betting on sports smarter and researching a little bit better. It's not just for player props. That's what I showed you. They have game picks, helps you build parlays, helps you dissect FanDuel same game parlays. Really, really cool tool. 7-day free trial. Are you kidding me? Are the people at Outlier crazy? No, they're not, because I talk to them on a regular basis. Really, really cool guys and very innovative guys as well. So you sign up now. Odds are they're going to start adding things and making this tool even better, and you'll get your money back and money's worth like that. So check it out, guys. Head over there. Use that link in the pinned comment if you do want to sign up for that 7-day free trial. All right, San Diego taking on Pittsburgh. This one was tough for me to kind of get anything that I liked in this game, and I did end up liking slightly the over and San Diego on the run line for even odds. So if it was not even odds and even money, I don't think that I would even consider San Diego on the run line here. They did win 5-1 yesterday. They lose game 1 of the series, but that was a little shocking. I think they were like minus 250 favorites, and they lose that one 8-4, right? But nonetheless, they kind of showed who they really are yesterday. Blake Snell didn't even have that great of a game, and yet they still win 5-1. 1 there. And I'm just kind of fading Oviedo at this point, or Avedo. I don't even know how to say the guy's name, but I can't pronounce, the word cat. So I got problems of my own up here. But he's got a 3-11 record, a 1.4 WHIP, and a 4.77 ERA on the season, and that hasn't been much better as of late either. He's got a 4 flat ERA in his last 5 here. The team is 0-5 when he does get the rock to start games. Then Seth Lugo on the side for San Diego. I don't want to really blow too much smoke up his ass because he hasn't been all that great either. He's got a 1.3 WHIP, a 3.7 ERA, and a 4-4 record, but he's kept the ERA down to 2.2 in his last 5 starts, and that's including a game in which he had an ERA of, I think, 9 runs when he played against Philly. So having that in there, it kind of shows if you exclude that ERA is even lower. So let's trust that he has a hot hand to some degree. We can lean towards the run line, but this San Diego team is a little scary to be betting run lines here. They've only covered that 3 times in their last 10 as favorites on the run line. So slight lean towards the over because I do think both these batters can get sort of batted. Both these pitchers can get batted around. That's what I'm trying to say, all right? But the offenses aren't really there for me to be able to pull the trigger on that. The only thing that I could probably see myself at least coming to terms with is San Diego on the run line, and we'll even see if that makes it into the final place. All right, next up, we got the Dodgers taking on the Blue Jays. As you know, we've been cashing, we've been hammering, I guess we should say, the over. Yesterday, this was our only pick to cash. The total is up to 10 now. Yes, it's 9.5 on some sportsbooks. I don't believe I have access to those sportsbooks, so if you can get it at 9.5, sure. If it's at 10, though, I'm probably sticking away from the over. I still consider this to be a spot where a lot of runs can be scored, but nonetheless, guys, my main lean in this game, and I don't know if it's psycho alarm worthy there, but I'm going to look at Toronto here on the money line plus 126. Now, I've said a couple times, oh, you can't get in the Dodgers' way, blah, blah, blah. Well, Toronto beat them in game 1, okay? Yesterday, it was a close game. Both these games, even though 6-3 in game 1, both these games have been closer than I guess they felt. But nonetheless, guys, I do think that this is a spot in which you have Kikichi on the mound for Toronto. And not that he's been absolutely stellar. He's got a 2.2 ERA in his last 5 starts here. On the season, he's got a 3.9 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP, a 7-3 record, so good for him, right? But I'm more or less looking at the fact that the Dodgers, if there's anything that they struggle at right now, it is batting against lefties. So in their last 5 games here, batting .222 against lefties, only averaging 4 hits per game here with an on-base percentage of .273. Even in their last 10 games, you extrapolate more out, right? 205 average against lefties, okay? 205 average against lefties, 2.7 hits per game against them. So let's hope that stands true. It's been the only flaw of the Dodgers as they've sort of become a massive powerhouse in the last couple weeks or so. So hopefully that continues there because I like Toronto on the plus money. I think that is some value there. Plus 126 over on FanDuel as of right now. And this is the last game of the series here. Then Toronto, sticks around and then plays the Angels as well. So, we'll see what comes of that series. But nonetheless, give me them for plus money on the series finale here. And then in terms of the total, yes, I could still see a lot of runs being scored, but what I just told you about, that left-handed pitching issue for the Dodgers kind of scares me to a little, degree there. So only lean in this one that I'm confident is going to be Toronto on the plus money. But I will say this, and I mean this honestly. If you guys are like, no, LA Dodgers the pick in the comments, I'm not arguing this one because as bad as they've been against lefties, and that's just the average of their last 10 games, last 5, right? There's been plenty of lefty games in there where they just smash them because this offense is on fire right now. So I'm going to allow that talk and that speech because this is a spot where I like the plus money. But if you are like, no, I'm going to take Gonsolin on the mound for the Dodgers against this Blue Jays team, albeit, that's fine. So be it. All right, Philly taking on Baltimore here. Philly gets the win yesterday. They win 4-3. These games are sticking close. So if you do like, the underdog in some sort of run line format, go for it because this has been the trend as of late. I don't like a side in this game, unfortunately. I do like Philly and what they're kind of doing here, but they have Ranger Suarez on the mound who I just cannot trust as of late. So kind of sticking away from that. But I do like the under in this spot, under 9 runs. We've seen a 2-3 game, then a 4-3 game. Neither of those looking like they're going to get that close. And these have been grinded out type games. You know what I mean? So I'm going to look at the under 9 runs here. It's going to be under or nothing for me today. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we ultimately end up rolling with. All right, Tigers taking on the Angels here. Angels get the win yesterday, 7-6, a little closer than they probably would like. I feel like this is such an important little 2-game stretch for the Angels because they have been, kind of, sort of starting to turn it around. I shouldn't say kind of, sort of. They have won a bunch of games, just not against the biggest of competitions. But nonetheless, guys, Lorenzen's going for the Tigers here. He's got a 5-6 record, a 3.49 ERA, and a 1.09 WHIP, which isn't all that bad. And then when you look at him over the last 5 games here, the team's 3-2 when he starts. He's got a 1.4 ERA. He hasn't let up a single run in 3 games. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, is the guy dealing? 2 of those 3 games, one against Kansas City, one against Oakland. So I'm kind of reading through the BS here, and you're looking at a Detroit team who these lines are all over the place. Detroit is now favored at -116. You can get the Angels at -102. So I am going to look at the Angels here, taking Patrick Sandoval, who's got a 2.4 ERA over his last 5. Obviously the better pitcher realistically on the season as well. Or I shouldn't even say that. Stats wouldn't even agree with me there, but I do think that he is a better pitcher than Lorenzen. I guess that may be more personal than it is statistical here, but I just cannot trust a Tigers team with a Lorenzen who I do think, I'm kind of seeing through some bullshit there. So I'm going to lean towards the Angels here for really good odds in terms of having the better team here at -102. Then in terms of the total 8.5, we saw a 7-5 game. Last 2 games for the Angels, right? 7-5 against Pittsburgh, then 7-6. Then we saw a 5-1 game against San Francisco for the Detroit Tigers, and then a 7-6 game last night. Those are all, well and good, high-scoring games. But I do think that this is a spot where they're just trying to get over this game now. So give me a look at what we're seeing here in the under 8.5 runs. Tomorrow, the pitcher for the Angels, I think gets like Silthseth, who I barely know anything about. Then Detroit has Manning going, so that's more of a spot for the over here. This is going to be a nice little calm in the storm, eye of the storm, where we have a high scoring run game yesterday, low scoring today, high scoring tomorrow. Mark my words, that is what I predict happening with this series here. All right, Yankees taking on the Mets in the Subway Series here. Yesterday's game finishes 9-3 as the Mets have their way. I do think things flip on their side here, and they flash back, to what I at least thought was going to happen in this series. That was kind of surprising yesterday, but I do think that this is a spot where the Yankees can win with Rodon on the mound here. Not that he's been all that great. Neither one of these pitchers has been great this season. You have Rodon for the Mets, and then you have Jose Quintana for the Mets. Or Yankees have Rodon, Jose Quintana for the Mets. I don't know if I said that correctly the first time, but nonetheless, I do think that the Yankees win this game. I don't think that I'm considering them at the price tag they're at right now. Updated odds at -164. Way too much for me, but I could look at the over 8.5 runs here. Neither one of these pitchers are all that great, right? So give me the over here, 8.5, and I'm kind of just fading the pitchers and hoping that the Mets offense continues to do what it did yesterday. And honestly, they've done that in 3 of their last 4 games where they score a decent amount of runs, and I hope the Yankees get back to what they did in the series against Kansas City. Now, obviously, Kansas City is a different animal, and I shouldn't even say they're a different stuffed animal, but nonetheless, I do still think that this is an over-type game for these 2 teams. All right, guys, if you are still watching at the 27-minute mark, you know what to comment. Give me a 2-7 in the comments. I think I got that right. Yep, 2-7 in the comments, guys. If you are still watching, the OGs are commenting that, and I love seeing it, and the guppies don't even know what we're talking about when we comment that. So go ahead, drop 2-7 in the chat. We got the Red Sox taking on the Braves. Stayed up late to watch this game last night because there's a 2-hour rain delay here. Red Sox end up winning 7-1, and this is worthy of the psycho alert alarm. Now, I could be crazy, an absolute crazy person, but I'm looking at the Red Sox for +140 here on the money line. Spencer Strider's going for the Braves, so yes, there's a crazy thing, but you do have Brian Bayo on the mound for the Red Sox, and that dude is a really good pitcher. So, I'm going to look at that and say, okay, yes, he had a bad game against Oakland. It's going to drive up his recent ERA, but even still on the season, 3.6 ERA, 1.2 WHIP. Going up against Spencer Strider, who lets up some runs. Not many guys on base. He's always susceptible sort of to the big ball here, but 3.8 ERA, 1.01 WHIP. In his last 5 starts, been pitching well as well. But this Red Sox team, where they have the best record in baseball since it's July or June 30th. So in the month of July, they have the best record in baseball, best record in the AL, obviously, if they have that too, something like that. So it's really cool how they're just playing good baseball. And what have I said all year long? I'm a Red Sox fan. I watch more Red Sox baseball than other teams, right? I literally see this team always going in waves of really good Wow, they suck, they suck, they suck really good. Wow, there's like no middle ground for this Red Sox team. And until sort of the wheels fall off of one of these runs, I do think that there's value in taking them. So obviously we're looking at a team in which the Braves are better than Red Sox. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. The Braves are better than 99.9% of teams out there right now. Spencer Strider's better than Brian Bayo, even though I do think Brian Bayo's got a very good future ahead of him. Spencer Strider's better than him. But the odds there for plus 140 on the Red Sox for a team that's playing like the best team in baseball, I mean, can't really beat those odds. So yes, could be biased, could be a psycho alert that we dropped from the soundboard there. Nonetheless, still rolling with the Red Sox. Total sitting at 9.5. I think that is way up there because this Red Sox offense has been scoring a lot of runs, and obviously we know who the Braves are, but you have the two best pitchers on each team going today. I'm going to fade the fact that, that these offenses are kicking into gear. Now, I still think the Red Sox will score more runs than the Braves, but I'm going to lean towards the under here. I don't think it's going to be a 7-1 game, but I could see this one being like a 5-3, 5-4 type game, which would sit under that 9.5. All right, next up, we got the Astros taking on the Rangers, and this Astros team has started to play good baseball here. They've won 7 of their last 10. They've taken both games to start this series against Texas, and they have Framber Valdez on the mound for them today, who on the season's got a 2.94 ERA, Cy Young-esque 1.1 whip and an 8-6 record here, and in his last 5 games, he's pitching fairly well as well. Going up against Andrew Heaney, who's got a 6-6 record, a 4.58 ERA, and a 1.35 whip. So all signs point to taking Houston on in this game, right? But I'm actually going to go ahead and look at Texas for plus 158. Now, let me adjust my seat here before you guys now literally call me crazy with these 2 games back to back, taking the underdogs here. This Texas team has stunk as of late when it comes to batting against lefties. And honestly, just when it comes to scoring a bunch of runs as well, they really have only done that against righties as of late. So you're looking at a team in their last 10 games here batting 122 against lefties. You're probably like, why the hell are you taking Texas then? Well, on the season, after they lose a game, right? After a loss against the team prior and they face a lefty, they're averaging 284 against lefties, a 6.4 runs per 9, almost a home run per 9. So, maybe I'm reading too much into the weeds here and I'm enamored by the plus 158 odds price tag, but I do think that this is, these are analytics that say bounce back territory. Now, yes, Framber Valdez is filthy, right? Like, I don't really want to take anything away from him. He could easily shut down this Rangers team, but I think the ROI that you can get for taking Rangers on the plus money today could be worth it. And then in terms of the total, 8.5. We've seen both of these games so far at 8.5, and one hits the over, one hits the under. Valdez, obviously for Framber Valdez on the mound, being the best pitcher right now that we could consider. Everything's telling me to lean towards the under, but I think that this Texas team bounces back today. So I'm going to lean towards the over, kind of fading myself and my initial thoughts there. So yes, probably is crazy. This is very similar to the Dodgers game that we talked about. If you are on Houston, I'm going to say, fine. One, I'm not paying the price tag. Minus 188 right now. Too high of a price tag for me to pay. But I will say that Framber Valdez on the mound going up against Andrew Heaney should be an indicator that Houston should win this game. But I'm really hoping on the Texas offense to kind of combat that thought. So we'll see how it plays out, but give me the over as well as the Rangers in this one. Might be crazy. All right, next up, we have Lance Lynn and the White Sox taking on Stroman and the Cubs. Stroman just isn't. I'm starting to just believe that Stroman just doesn't have what it takes to really be a good pitcher. Like, maybe the name is carrying more weight than his skill because he is so inconsistent. He's been getting batted around. But luckily for Stroman and the Cubs, he's going up against Lance Lynn. And you can't spell Lance Lynn without a capital L in his first name and a capital L in his last name. I really do think that this guy is very fadeable. Been better as of late. I'll give him a little bit of credit there, but hasn't had the biggest of competitions. And you're looking at the Cubs for minus 124. So is it a trap game? Perhaps. They dominate yesterday, but I'm gonna for one last time, I guess, trust Marcus Stroman, trust that minus 124 is valuable, and lean towards the Cubs in this one. Now, again, you look at a team like the White Sox, and they're not good. Like, we could say that. This Cubs team has been inconsistent, but they're playing good baseball. So that minus 124 could be like a, hey, all signs indicate this is a trap then, because why aren't they minus 160, right? I don't care. I'm taking the value there. I do think that, this is a spot for the Cubs to win another game. They're just the better team. But in terms of a total here, we're looking at 8.5. It's probably my favorite lean in the game is looking at the over, because even if Stroman gets got to, right, I think the Cubs are going to be able to hit Lance Lynn. So even if Stroman gets got to, this is going to be an over type game. The Cubs have hit the over 8.5 in 9 of their last 10 games, and the White Sox in 6 of their last 10. So both these teams trending towards the over as well. So give me that spot for them there. And like I said, guys, if you think this is a trap game, then stay away from it. I still wouldn't bet the White Sox. I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger there. All right, San Francisco taking on Oakland. We do not have a starter for San Francisco yet. They win 2-1 yesterday, but kind of like yesterday, nothing in this game is going to ultimately really sway me in one direction or the other. Potentially would look at the under, but again, that's really just based on not really liking either of these two teams, and the fact that, yesterday's game was 2-1. So I doubt anything's going to be a final play in this slip, but I did just want to at least, not act like it was at the end of the slate and I forgot it. So we are acknowledging that they don't have a pitcher yet slated for San Francisco. On the mound for Oakland, we do have a pitcher. It's going to be Hogan Harris, who, yip-de-doo-dah, who cares about him too, right? So probably fading this game altogether. But yeah, guys, that's what I have for you guys today. Hope you guys do enjoy the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you did, and go cop some Fade Me merch, guys. Again, I'm gonna be picking one random order today, and I'm gonna be comping the order entirely. So if you place an order, you have a damn good, it's not like we're getting a million orders a day, right? You have a damn good chance of getting that just for completely free. So yeah, thank you guys so much for the support as of late. We're grinding away here in a good way, but we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.